So my grandfather was 31 years old when he was hired to serve in the US Army in the Vietnamese War. Since he could speak English very well, he agreed because when you can speak English, they pay you more, and since my family wasn't very wealthy at the time, he they really needed it, so he agreed and left my pregnant grandmother and his other two kids and went to war for 7 years. But first, he had to train in really hard war conditions, which included in jumping out of airplanes and training to be on like really shaky boats and being in freezing cold water and finally learning to survive in the woods. My grandfather achieved two badges for jumping out of airplanes as part of his training. One story that my mother told me was when the army was hiding in the forest in Vietnam. They had to be extremely careful as they could not leave any traces that they were there, or the Vietnamese would find them and kill them all. And they had to be especially careful with the plants because the Vietnamese poisoned all the plants in the forest with chemicals that could kill them instantly. When they had to evacuate the forest because they heard that the Vietnamese were coming for them, they had to make sure no clues were left behind. This included in throwing soil onto the ashes of the fire they made and getting rid of any footprints, anything like that, and the dogs that found them and decided to stay with them. They had to bury them alive. And at the time, the U.S. Army had no specific like medics or doctors, and they all had to like take bullets out of each other when they got shot or take care of each other when they were sick because they barely had any medication. And um, many of my grandfather's friends died right in front of him. He saw all of their deaths and he couldn't do anything about it. And once when they were at battle, a bomb landed right in front of my grandfather, and a chunk of the bomb, when it exploded, landed on his nose. And since it was really hot, it burnt his nose, and a chunk of metal went inside his like under the skin, and it led into like a really bad serious burn and a broken nose. 7 years later, the war ended and my grandfather managed to survive and he went home and retired. Thank you for listening.